Hi y'all, it is the Southern Belle from Hell here, and welcome back to another speed building video. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. I do speed builds and I also do some legacy challenges, so check me out, leave me a comment, like, or even a subscribe if you so fancy. I would love and appreciate it. So today, guys, I am redoing Copperdale High School. And I'm doing it to fit really like my own save file, but of course it is on the gallery. My EA ID is listed down below. And yeah, you can do whatever you want with it. But guys, I really wanted to create a school that had a little bit of everything. Like if you have the high school years pack, you know that you really only have 2 classrooms to make a school functional in The Sims. Like your sim is only going to go to one classroom or the other. And for me, like that's fine and dandy and all, but there's really nothing to do at the high school. Like, besides following them to class, chilling at lunch with them, like try to get them to have some friends. Like there's nothing to do with your friends at school. Like there's gym and that's kind of it. Like there's like a little chess, little music room or whatever, but there's not much in it, and basically everyone goes home. So I kind of decided to add different classrooms that, they don't function as classes, but you can make it into like a hobby room and have hobby gatherings there. And it doesn't have to be a business, but it can be like a club hangout. So that's what I was thinking, and that's what I'm kind of doing so that this is a cool spot to hang out at. When it comes to the design of this high school, what I was thinking about was like your traditional old American high school that, looks like it's been there since, the late 1800s, early 1900s. I am getting inspiration from a school I used to work at. And it kind of had this look and feel on the outside of it. It is 3 stories, but I don't use the 3rd story. It just looked fitting to have the 3rd story up there, but I don't have anything up there. I wanted to add like a little courtyard that goes off of the cafeteria where, like the students can eat outside if it's not raining and stuff. And it goes off into this little building that I'm going to turn into a gym. Now I do add a greenhouse a little bit later, and with the greenhouse, there are a couple of schools I've worked at that have had a greenhouse, and it was awesome. I live in the South, and in the South, I'm not really sure, like I know other schools in different places have this, but we are very big in our agricultural departments at our high schools. Like, if you've never taken ag, is kind of the short term for it, it's not just agriculture. I mean, yeah, agriculture is a big part of it. You do like forestry and horticulture, knowledge about like plants and wild plants, things like that. But you also work with like farm life and welding and woodworking and things like that. So we don't really have like classes like that in The Sims. You can now make a class like that if you want to. So what I was thinking is kind of have the greenhouse as like a spot for that. I put like a woodworking station in there. I have like, your basic gardening stuff. And I also add some stuff from Eco Lifestyle, so you can like recycle all of like the trash and bits and bobs. We've got, an insect plant, so you can make biofuel, all kinds of stuff. I try to like think of as many little things as possible that would be cool for like my teen Sims to do and go ahead and like learn. Right now I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to landscape this school. So I lifted the land around the school, and I'm going to basically coat that little piece of terrain with flowers and make it look, a little bit overgrown, but also, like administratory, if that makes sense. Like this is a professional building. I have it working on in my mind, and you know what? It turns out great. That's all that matters, even if I'm not making myself clear. But right now I'm working on the gym. I wanted this to look like your typical high school gym, and I wasn't really sure how I was going to decorate it. So when I kind of jump around, I'm trying to wait until I know for sure how I'm going to decorate it. Now I'm pulling out stuff from the debug menu, like little clutter pieces of how I'm going to decorate this front entrance. And I put out like just little things to kind of give me an idea of how I want this front entrance to look. I really wanted it to look grand. You've got like these, staircases that go up to the main entrance, and I wanted it to look, like a spot where you can, sit, wait on the bus, and, it's well lit. It looks really fancy. And I also wanted to have like little pieces of just knowing that this place is old. So I add like all sorts of little like decorative pieces. Right now I'm adding some ivy, kind of give it that older feel that like this building's been there like maybe over 100 years, maybe 120 years, who knows? But generations and generations of Sims have gone to this school. I love buildings like that. I love an old building. That is just my thing. I thought about doing a more modern school, but I was like, my favorite schools that I've taught at, they've got a little history to it. I don't know why. I really, really like that. So for my save file, I was like, this is perfect for someone like me. And I really hope you guys like it. Right now, I am just kind of like fiddling with different windows from businesses and hobbies, as well as these windows that we got from the high school years pack. I do use a lot of stuff and decor items from Discover University. It just made sense to me, especially when it comes to like decorating the high school. I use so many things from Discover University and high school years, as well as businesses and hobbies. It just kind of like gives that feel of, professionalism and, like learning new stuff. Like it was giving me the vibes. So I put down a couple things, a couple of plants, but I was like, I still don't really know how I want to landscape it. So I'm going to go to the gym. So with the gym, I just wanted to make it look like your typical high school gym, nothing fancy, and it is kind of small. But I do end up putting bleachers, and I love the way I did the bleachers, guys. I really do. They're not exactly functional. A couple of Sims can sit down on it, but I wanted to make it look like raised bleachers. And, like in the game, you can't really like have a game of basketball and make it like an event where, other Sims can come and watch it. It can just be like a hangout area for your Sims to chill and, play a game. So I wasn't really too worried about the functionality of it. A couple of Sims can sit down on the bleachers, yeah, but there are some spots that they can't necessarily get to. Right now I'm working on the greenhouse. I wanted to make it like your typical cute looking greenhouse, and I just kind of like put these doors down, and I was getting really excited about what this greenhouse could turn into. Now I am decorating and landscaping the surrounding parts of the school. I kind of had this idea of just making it look like a lot of shrubbery and just have like white flowers sprinkled here and there. And I kind of speed through this process because it literally took me hours of laying all this stuff down. Just about everything is like base game debug menu except for the hosta plants, those big cabbage looking plants that we got from Cats and Dogs. I love them so much because they are so full and they look really leafy, and it's just like perfect to put down as like a filler plant. But yeah, I just kind of like speed through this so you don't have to sit through several long minutes of just watching me put down plants. Even though I love it, I'm not even gonna lie, like I love landscaping. If y'all hear animals, I am so sorry. It is feeding time and they are like barking and playing, and I have my cat Kiwi that likes to make an entrance in my videos every now and again. And I am so sorry if that annoys you. My bad. But yeah, I have a house full of animals, so it is what it is. I try to edit it out, but sometimes it's just impossible. So I'm just kind of like shading up a little bit in this back part of the school, making it look, more realistic and more kind of lived in. I just kind of like speed through this process of the school and laying everything down because, it took a while. Right now I'm putting down like different shrubs and things like that, making it look a little bit more polished. And we'll be almost done with the landscaping part of this school. I decide to put down a little gazebo because a couple of schools I've taught at, they've had a little gazebo out front. And I kind of decided that the school colors, because we have like this little mural as well as like a rug decorative piece where it's this llama, and they have like the main color is blue, but there's also red and yellow. And we have a lot of those different swatches in, the build and buy category. So I went, I can easily decorate this school with those 3 school colors. Like, yeah, that's perfect. So we're working on the gym, and I change up the gym quite a bit. I even change it up before I end up posting it to the gallery, and you'll see the screenshots at the end. I change up the bleachers. So I just add one more level to the bleachers. Here I have 2 levels because I thought that's really all like I could fit in, and no, if you stay tuned for the screenshots, you'll see like 3 levels of bleachers. I wanted to have it kind of like lifted up because in the high school that I graduated from, we had bleachers that were lifted so everyone could see the game, and it just made sense to me, and it felt like it'd be so empty if I didn't build a gym with bleachers. So this was my take on bleachers, and like I said, a couple people can sit down, but there's some spots where they'll like raise their hands over their head and be like, oh, I can't get there. But there's really no like event where you can have like a game and have a full gym. So it's really just for like decorative purposes. But I put down some cheer mats, and I changed up the flooring quite a bit because you don't really need that much space to play like some basketball. And they don't actually play like real basketball. They just kind of like shoot some hoops and, shoot around a little bit. They don't actually like play the whole game. So it's mainly for decorative purposes, but I did have so much fun because it started to look like really authentic. I put this little vending station here that had coolers and stuff, so people can come get something to eat. These light fixtures, they are actually from the spa day pack. And to me, it just looked like a perfect large gym light. Like, I don't know. I saw it and was like, yeah, I've got to use that. Right now I'm putting up like different decorations of, possibly these people in these pictures are graduates from Copperdale High. And, they've got their picture up there. There's pictures of like, different trophies and things like that. Now, I did speed through this part where I put all the pom-poms down of the school colors because, again, that was just something that was very repetitive, and it took me like an hour just to put these pom-poms down. I wanted to put up decorations that looked like a student could have done it instead of just like, all the pretty and perfect decorations. I do that a couple of times throughout the school where I just kind of custom make decorations so it looks like it was something a student did versus, like a perfect piece of decor from the menu. I size up this trophy case so I can put like different trophies that we have in the game and, make it look like they've done a lot at this school. Because again, it's an old school. They probably have trophies from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. I mean, who knows? My high school did. They had trophies from like the 60s in their trophy cabinets. So I thought it was kind of neat. I put up this llama that came, I think, in the cottage living pack. And yeah, I colored it blue, and I felt like that was perfect to kind of fill up that empty space on the wall. Now we're working on the greenhouse, and the greenhouse, again, I'm kind of turning into like an agricultural building where we got these woodworking stations, and I'm putting down different planter boxes, and I'm gonna have a area right here where I put like a little flower arranging station, things like that. I'm also putting all of like these vertical plant spaces, and your Sims actually can go in there if you've never like made a greenhouse like this, because even though this is like technically a part of the roof, they actually can go in there and plant stuff in those vertical boxes and everything. So that's a neat little trick if you haven't like, you know, worked with that. They can actually work in that little roofing spot. I decided to put a 2 pumpkin carving stations because I just hardly ever use them. And I was like, well, you know what? That'd be perfect around fall, at the end of the fall semester. You have your students carve pumpkins as maybe like a project or something. I decided to put these vents down and make it look like, you know, we've got to have some ventilation. Because if you have like a class of 30 kids up in here, you know, you're going to need some ventilation. Not that that's going to happen in the Sims. Like, what's the most you can have like in a classroom? Like 10? Yeah, there's not that many Sims per classroom. So right now I'm just like cluttering up the areas, making it look like this is a greenhouse slash workstation area. And I even put up like the little scheduling board maybe for the instructor to put down like whose responsibility it is to clean the greenhouse today. And, you know, just like little things like that. I was trying to think like if I was a teacher in this subject, what would I want? Now we're moving on to the courtyard, and I'm just trying to make sure that like I kind of cover this area up with pretty flowers. I use these yellowish orange flowers. I use them at the front of the school around the sign, and I decided to use them again around this tree. And they kept like hopping all over, so I had to zoom in and like place them down so they would fill up the space. I decided to put like some chess tables, but I do have a classroom that's going to be on the 2nd floor that's going to be for chess club and kind of like a logic skill building room. And I'm just putting down like different picnic tables that have these umbrellas that I can also change to fit our color scheme of red, blue, and yellow. And I thought it just kind of fit in perfectly with you know, the decor of this school, and it just kind of made sense. You know, maybe like the teachers and students, like when it's not raining, they can eat out here, they can take their lunch out here and just enjoy the day, because it really is a very pretty setup I've got going on. I even put like a little spot for like students to do a mural. So if you're wondering what's that invisible thing I just put down, that's a spot for a mural. Here I'm putting down the steps for the gym. So it's not to be confused with the gym that's outside and you can play basketball. No, this is a place for the students to work out at, and it's also going to be a space for a pool. I wasn't sure. I've watched so many people build like awesome versions of Copperdale High School, and I was like, I can't remember if anyone has ever put a pool in for a swim team. So I decided to do that. I thought it would be so neat to have a swimming pool in the basement area of the school, and that's where, you know, they can have little competitions. Not that you actually can, but it's cool to pretend, okay? This first floor, there's not a whole lot going on, but it is like really the only floor you have to go. You don't have to go anywhere else if your Sims don't want to. I put 2 bathrooms down, and I have a cafeteria area. I put in a little teacher's lounge because I'm a teacher. I love my teacher's lounge. I love my privacy. And then I put in the 2 classrooms that are needed with the 2 whiteboards. And you'll see in my decoration, I try to like marry the subjects, like English and history, one room, and then science and math, another room. And the last 2 rooms I put kind of in the middle. That's like the principal's office and kind of like a check-in station, like the front receptionist. Again, you don't really need a front receptionist, but to me, like it felt fitting. So in the 2nd floor, I have a library. Again, you don't need a library, but it feels right. It feels right to have a library in your school. And now I'm putting 3 classrooms on one side and 3 on the other for different skills, different hobby classes that you can take, or different rooms for club meetings. And I also add 2 more bathrooms so your Sims don't have to worry. Each floor has 2 bathrooms. And I just thought it was like perfect for that kind of spot, but you don't have to go anywhere else. Like your Sims don't have to go anywhere unless, you know, they just want to. I tried to make it as like, you know, movable and workable for my Sims as well as yours, because I hate when it takes like 30 minutes for, well, 30 sim minutes for your Sims to go from one area to another. And this is a huge school, just like, you know, Copperdale, the original version. It's a pretty big school. So I tried to just make it easy to navigate where you don't have to go anywhere unless you just want to. So right now I'm kind of setting up the school pool, and I think it looks so freaking neat. I loved this idea of having like a swim team, even though it's, you know, you can't really have a swim team, but it would be a cool hangout spot for like students and teachers. Like, you know, after school, take a dip in the pool, why not? And I decided to put these lights around it, you know, maybe after school, you know, when everything's shut down, just like have these lights illuminating the entire room. But I also put in the lights that we got from businesses and hobbies, and it's a very dim light. So to me, it was kind of like giving off the perfect vibes, because every time I've been in a place where they've got like a pool for competitions, or, you know, like a YMCA pool, things like that, it's a room that's pretty dimly lit, you know, unless they've got like big old windows on one side. So I felt like these lights were just perfect for the kind of lighting I wanted to have going on in, you know, this basement area of Copperdale High School. So I kind of have these areas sectioned off a little bit, like here's the boys' side in red and the girls' side, I know, ironically, in blue. But to me, it just kind of like fit in that way. I kind of go back and forth, and with these bathrooms, they're pretty small, but again, like I have 2 bathrooms on every single floor. So they have more than enough, you know, areas that they can do their business at. And what I was thinking is, you know, kind of have these Sims have their bathroom spaces, yes, but also in the spaces in between, locker rooms, you know, where they have to change out for whatever sport that they are going to have to go to. And I kind of fill that area up in the middle with different lockers and some teenage clutter items, some clothes here and there. Maybe they're changing out for cheerleading. I put like a little, you know, cheer thing in there. And I put a little bit of graffiti on the walls for the boys and girls. And I kind of put the exact same workout equipment on one side as the other, and just kind of like have different knickknacks scattered here and there on what would be on like the boys' side versus the girls' side. And I don't really show me building the rest of the bathrooms in the school because it's kind of the same. I use, you know, the same soaps. I use the same sinks. I think I use different mirrors, but other than that, like it's the same. You'll see in the screenshot that there's really nothing different in terms of the bathrooms throughout this school. But I did want to use as many like pieces of workout decor as possible without it looking too cluttered and too busy, you know, to kind of like keep the students motivated and stuff. I placed down some towels and those little like workout sippy cups, whatever, tumblers, that's the word I'm looking for, you know, kind of give it a more realistic feel, like, you know, before they jump in the pool, you know, they may like wipe their face off, you know, get a little drink of water before resuming their laps. And on this wall, I decided to put in like these banners, these club banners. Maybe they have a workout club. Maybe they're into weightlifting, powerlifting, whatever. So I just kind of like hang that down to, again, like kind of give this space like a school spirit type of vibe. And now we're working on the locker room / showers. So I thought this was just kind of like a perfect setup for your typical older school's locker space. And I decided to put some benches down where, you know, like they sit and put on their shoes and everything before they go and they do their athletics. But I absolutely loved this part of the school. Like, to me, this felt like the most realistic out of all the other rooms, because I do make it look kind of fancy. The rest of the school, I make it look really, you know, nice and put together. So now we are working on technically like the first floor, and I do this a little bit differently. I was trying to decide like which entrances do I want going into which area. So you kind of see me jumping around a lot, putting down the bathroom doors so I know, okay, this room is not a classroom. When I do big builds, I often get confused about which room is what. And it's been a while since I've done a big build like this. It's been a couple months. So it was definitely fun. I stayed excited throughout this entire build. Like, I can't wait for my team Sims to like experience the school and actually like get to hang out at school and have like fun. And like the only thing that I wish we had was, in the education career, I wish I can like actually go to this school with my teacher sim, which I don't have one now, but I have had in the past, just to kind of see how the education field is in the Sims, because, you know, I'm a teacher in real life. So I was like, you know, okay, let's see how this one is. And I really wish I could go to school. Like, I wish I could go here with my adult sim and like teach stuff. But I was thinking, since I've got all of these like hobby things, like the hobby board from Business and Hobbies and things like that, you know, we can do a hobby class and make money that way and still like get that, you know, in-game teacher experience. So yeah, maybe we can work it out. I'm not sure. I haven't, like, I've play tested this build, but I don't know if I can go that far. I haven't tested it as far as having a sim go in and like try to teach a class. I don't see why it wouldn't work though. Anywho, I am decorating the inside of the school and trying to figure out like which swatches look the best in each room. And I kind of just stick to this main like wallpaper because it just looks like professional, and it kind of just sticks throughout the entire high school. And these lights are from high school years, and I wanted to put, you know, like our regular fluorescent lights that we got from the new restoration workshop kit or whatever. But I don't know, this really did look fancy. It looked nice. It kind of gave like a nicer vibe, a nicer businessy vibe, if you get my meaning. The fluorescent lights, they are actually really, really cool and everything, but they don't give off that much light. And I'm like, I don't know what the Sims team is thinking a fluorescent light is, but my fluorescent lights at work, I can see, you know, blood moving through veins. It is very bright. So I don't know why our fluorescent lights aren't that bright, but it's neither here nor there. So I decided to put up like this tiny half wall that separates the receptionist from the rest of the school. You know, if kids come in late, they stop by there. If parents want to pick up their kids, you know, they stop over there. And to get to that, you have to go like down the right hallway. And I put like a little kitchenette area for the receptionist and the principal. Right now I'm just kind of like decorating like kind of like the waiting area. If people are waiting to talk to the principal, you know, or they're waiting to get detention, things like that. Or, you know, maybe you're just a parent wanting to enroll your kid here, you know, and it's completely innocent. But I really like the way like this little area turned out. It felt like super professional, and, you know, like, oh, welcome to our school. Here's a little, you know, magazine card. Just make yourself at home. And this little lobby entrance, it just felt really beautiful and like really nice. I try to decorate it with as much like educational looking items that we have in the game as possible. I put like little banners down, some of the framed jerseys, and little sitting areas. This school has a ton of little sitting areas, way more than any place I've ever worked. But a ton of people will have spots to sit down and do their homework, or play on their phone, what have you. But yeah, I really just kind of enjoyed the way like this front entrance to the school turned out. And when I get to the area for this receptionist, I'm kind of picturing her as like, or him, it doesn't really matter. But I'm picturing this person as someone who has been at this school for a while. They have everything kind of like put together, and they know where everything is. They know exactly who to contact. So I put like some filing cabinets here, and different boxes. I do clutter up the entire school really a lot with these like pieces of file clutter. And for my receptionist, I just picture like an elderly woman that has been there since her 20s. She's got her little desk area where she can go to when she's not waiting on someone, and she's got like her old but trusty computer there. She's got it going on. And of course, a picture of her cat. I picture her owning a cat, and that is her solace when she gets home, because my cats are my solace. Even though, if you've been watching my videos for a while, my cat is cussing at me all the time. But in this little side entrance, I put like a little kitchenette for her and the principal, because at least in my experience, when I go into like the principal's office, they have like their own little mini kitchen in there. Like they've got like a little mini fridge. They may have a coffee pot. If they have room, maybe a microwave. But like they've got their little area where they don't have to like leave. and truth be told, if I was a principal, I would probably like to eat in my office. But it's neither here nor there. I didn't have enough room to put all of that in the principal's office, so I said, what, why not just put it out here? So I'm like cluttering up this space, making it look like they've drank a lot of coffee. There's some coffee cups that need to be washed. Here's like some little like notepads and a big old businessy clock. Just kind of make it look more administrative, more on the professional side of things. So in this area, I wasn't sure what to do with this blank space. So I said, what? Well, let's have another spot for people waiting to talk to the principal to sit at. Maybe there's a meeting or something. So I put this huge sectional down, and I just like clutter up this space with like your typical waiting area decor. I decided to put these pillows down for the school colors. So again, we've got the yellow, red, and blue, and the red was popping. Man, I kind of wish I went for more of the burgundy red, but it is red. It is red, because I feel like most of the swatches, same thing with the blue, but most of the swatches that we have for high school years, the red is a very calm red, almost on a pink side, and the blue is more of a teal blue. It's not navy like these pillows are, but the teal swatch in the pillows, they just looked almost neon. I was like, that really doesn't match. So I just stuck with that. There's a little mismatch thing happening. So for this desk, I absolutely hate this desk, but this is the principal's desk, and you have to have this principal's desk so that the principal knows where their office is. And I absolutely hate it. I hate this desk so much. So I tried to like kind of make this desk area look a little bit more businessy. I changed the swatches a couple of times, because for me this just looks like a big student desk, like that you would have in like biology class or something, where you have a partner. This doesn't, to me, say like a professional principal's desk, but So this spot, it kind of looks a little messed up, but I clutter it up really well so that it looks a little bit more professional. I put up like different pictures and evidence of, degrees. Maybe this principal went to Brightchester or Foxbury, and, he or she is like got several degrees. Like they worked hard to get to where they're at. And all of my past principals, they've always had a ton of pictures of like every family member, their entire family tree, maybe even some students. They'll have, you know, like some pictures behind them or on their actual desk. So that's why I kind of just clutter up that area. I put up like, you know, different plants, maybe that the greenhouse students, you know, gave to the principal for like Principal Appreciation Day or something. Just kind of like trying to use my own experience as an educator to decorate this school. I was not sure what to put here, so I decided to put like a little bookcase here and put on the top this TV, because I was thinking, you know, someone's got to watch the security cameras and maybe the security cameras connect to this TV, and the principal kind of watches it, make sure, you know, there's no students skipping and things like that. So I just try to make this area look as like professional and like your typical principal's office. And yeah, I really, really liked this principal's office because it made me think of like the times I've been in the principal's office as a kid as well as a teacher. So it was kind of fun. Now I am working on the halls. Now the halls were pretty difficult. So in the game, you have to have student lockers. And of course I was going to put them down anyways, but you really only need to have a handful. And this is a pretty big school, so I figured it would only be fitting to have a ton of different areas for lockers. And, you know, I put a ton down here and I put a ton downstairs, upstairs, even though you don't really need the ones upstairs. It just seemed to make the most sense. Now, this is kind of like a hallway area that goes to one of the side doors. So I put down some bookshelves as well as, you know, some more seating areas. Maybe, you know, they're coming in from the side door and they've kind of rushed to school. They need to sit somewhere to like finish putting on their shoes or putting stuff in their backpack, things like that. And I really liked this couch. Like I felt like it looked like the yellow of the school colors that I was going for. And the blue bookshelf, again, it went with the school color. But now we are working on the cafeteria. In the cafeteria, I wanted to make it look kind of old and, you know, very easily accessible, like your typical school cafeteria. I've seen so many people build immaculate cafeterias that look so fancy for their schools. This one's not that fancy. Like, it's got everything that you're gonna need, but it's like this room is pretty old. Like it's been there for a little bit. Like even while I was building it, I'm like, I can smell hamburger day. But I put like a little wash station for the students to wash their hands and a little hand sanitizer thing before they go up there and get their plate of food. I kind of clutter up the area with like different pictures of fruits and vegetables and like kids running and working out and stuff. And then a spot for, you know, if the kids don't want lunch, here's a little vending machine or whatnot. And yeah, I just really like the way this turned out because to me it looked the most realistic out of cafeterias I've seen and worked in. Of course, the ones that I've seen are of course like much bigger, but they kind of have like this typical style. And instead of putting like little tables down, I decided to put two of these really long tables together to, you know, just make it look more like a cafeteria. The cafeteria tables that were used in the original school, I've never seen cafeteria tables like that. I could be wrong. You know, some of you guys watch me from all different areas of the world, but every school I've taught in, we've had long tables. And this is where I start putting like little mix match school chairs, because with this school, again, it's pretty old. I really doubt that they have like the exact same color chairs all throughout. And I still wanted it to like be the school colors. So I thought that added a little something interesting. And yeah, I add some llama decor here and there for the school. Got to represent that school mascot. And I'm starting to put up like little wall decorations for the hallways. I try to dress up the hallways as much as possible without it looking too like over cluttered. And I found these curtains, and to me they look like the perfect curtains that I would find at a school. You know, not really very expensive looking, but it gets the job done. Now I'm working on the teacher's lounge, and I'm kind of decorating it like the teacher's lounges that I've been in, where, you know, you got a little kitchen area and it has, you know, space for you to have coffee, and we don't have an oven. I've never seen a teacher's lounge with an oven, but you have a microwave, and we've got a little vending machine on one side. So yeah, I just put some little things around, you know, some magazines, some little things to make your quick meals or heat up your meal from home. And I'm finding all of these like little clutter pieces that I thought would be like good for your typical teacher's lounge area. Like some moving supplies for teachers moving in or moving out of their classroom. There's some glasses I kind of put down, maybe a teacher left it. And I put a spot for a computer for, like, you know, maybe the teacher that's working late, they, you know, they're tired of being in their classroom. Well, here's a space. And I put like some games in there, because there's been quite a few schools I've worked at where they like stockpile games for those days, usually like after testing's done, and you have nothing else to give your kids. So they'll have like a ton of different games that we can use to basically preoccupy our students until the buses get there after testing is over for the day. So yeah, I just kind of like clutter up this space with different like business decor that I know I've seen. And these broken chairs from the basement treasures kit, oh yeah, that's perfect. We always have like a little table where we sit, do our work, eat our little lunch, and, you know, go about our day with our mixed match chairs. Now I'm working on the first classroom, like legit classroom that the Sims are gonna have to go in and take. And this is the science/math room. So again, you only have 2 classrooms in the Sims, and I tried to marry subjects together. So we have math and science and English and history. For math and science, I wasn't sure because there's not a whole lot of like decor for math. A ton of decor for science. I mean, an insane amount of decor. So I put like this little chemistry set down. I really wanted to use the missing my words. I really wanted to use the chemistry set that we have that actually looks like a chemistry set. This looks a little bit too robotic, but the teenagers wouldn't be able to use them. Adults wouldn't be able to use them. They're only for kids, for kid Sims. So I kind of had to, like, you know, suck it up, even though I don't think it looks right. At least it is like an actual chemistry set that your Sims can use and maybe do like, you know, little projects and, you know, build up that science and logic skill a little bit. So I love the decor pieces. We have so much scientific decor, and it was just so much fun to do this. And this is when I started getting ideas for like the other extracurricular classrooms. I was like, okay, well, upstairs we can have like a robotics room. We can have like a kind of like computer science room and things like that. And we have so much scientific stuff that, you know, I kind of just marry them when I go upstairs. So basically, like, the science stuff that we have that you don't see in here, it's going to be upstairs. The only thing I don't really use in this build is the huge telescope and the rocket, big rocket making thing. You know, I'm like, where am I going to put that in the school? But it's neither here nor there. But this classroom was so much fun to decorate. And now we're moving on to the English/history classroom. Now this is more my forte. I am a high school English teacher. So I was trying to think of like, how I decorate my classroom, or how I would like to decorate my classroom if I had the room. And yeah, I think about English teachers, we are more, I wouldn't say neat, but I would definitely say OCD. So I have this classroom as coordinated, and there are no mixed match chairs. Everything is kind of where it should be, because yeah, that's being an English teacher now for like 10 years. I've definitely noticed that we do get very OCD about our classrooms and the classroom decor. I decided to hang these lights that we got from Businesses and Hobbies, because in the past I've had lights like this in my classroom where they look like little tree branches. And I put all of these bookshelves, because I haven't done this, but I've worked with a teacher and she had this exact same decor where she had like a couple of old looking books stacked on top of each other, and she used them as shelves. And I thought that was just perfect. So here I'm adding a little bit of like history. I'm putting like some old pictures up and a globe. That's just, it's a subject that we don't have a whole lot of decor in, where you can obviously tell, oh, we're teaching history. So yeah, this is more of an English classroom, and the other one is more of a science classroom, but we do what we can. And now we are finally moving on upstairs. So I am decorating this second floor, like the entrance, as being kind of another hangout spot, where before you go to your extracurricular class, you can kind of like hang out with some folks before the class begins. We've got books. I decided to put these TVs up because, different places I've worked, we have little TVs everywhere that will basically have a slideshow of announcements and things like that. But also your Sims can, watch some TV and have this like time to gain skills from the channels that they're watching, because there's a ton of channels that gives you different skills. And yeah, like that's just another opportunity to gain some skills while you're here. And I put these little tables out just to kind of like fill in the spots, but I like the way it looked. I thought it looked super cute. And I use these different chairs, a little bit nicer. But yeah, I mix match them again. I thought it just looked so fitting. And here are the signs from Businesses and Hobbies. We got a ton of signs with that pack. But to me, these look more fitting. It looks, kind of like a blackboard, and someone used chalk to write like, oh, we're having this meeting today, and things like that. After this, I am moving on to the library. So again, you don't need a library in The Sims for your high school, but to me it's fitting. You've got to have a library. If you're going to build a school, you need a library. So this isn't like a huge library, but I thought it was like really perfect. I kind of decorate this librarian spot, like, again, I'm picturing kind of like the receptionist downstairs, someone who has been a librarian for years, and she's kind of like stuck in the past where not everything's in the computer. She actually still has like little cards where someone has to fill out if they checked out this book. And I found this cart in the debug menu. I believe it's from Discovery University. And yeah, maybe she's putting away books and she still has some books that she needs to put away that's been checked back in. I kind of just dress up her area to look, like she's got a lot going on. Maybe there's different like club functions, like a book club or something being held. Maybe she's head of it, and her little hobby board has reminders that hey, this is coming up this Wednesday or something. So I use these bookshelves for the library, and I thought it just looked perfect for an old school's library. And I put these benches down with these shelves from the Book Nook kit. I just thought it was like really fitting to have these little areas that you can also set down books and set down your coffee or whatever you're drinking. And yeah, these little cute tables for maybe kids are in here working on their homework together. And now we are moving on to the art room. And I kind of put in pottery with this because I love the decor items. I put down a couple of other things in different classrooms, like you saw me put down a piano. I was gonna make this music room where we have like all sorts of different instruments, guitars, piano, violin, all that good stuff. I really, really wish we had drums, or, you know, like a flute or a saxophone. We got a saxophone as like a decor piece, but yeah, like that's all it is. It's just a decor piece. So I've got like this room sectioned out as art here, pottery there, and I just thought it would be perfect for, like, you know, when you're teaching a pottery class or when you're teaching an art class, you have it all set up and you have all of this going on. So I try to fill this room with evidence of, you know, that there's a lot of people that take this class and they love it. And I fill this area with like different art pieces that look, you know, like someone did it by hand. We have a lot of those different swatches with the artist kit. I can't remember, it's like Artist Studio, something like that. Yeah, these pictures right here where it looks like, you know, someone's sketches and things like that, and it's not all pretty and put together like, you know, it in a frame. It just, you know, it looks like someone tore it out of their sketchbook. And I use these lights here. I just thought it added a little bit more of a creative flair. I use this shelf from the restoration workshop, and I put up like little pieces of pottery. I thought it just looked perfect for this classroom, and you know, it also matched the red in these swatches from Businesses and Hobbies. So I felt like this was a classroom that really melded together. I tried to put in like different pieces of sculpture, a bowl of fruit, you know, different things where they can like take inspiration from as they're painting. Some little plants here and there and clutter pieces. A lot of these swatches where it looks like paint's been spilled on the floor, and then I also add this tarp. Like we're trying to keep the floor clean, but it's just not happening. Now we're moving on into the room next to it, which I was thinking as more of like a drama room, but I also have space where like your Sims can like learn to sing. So I'm thinking, okay, you know, they can learn to sing, maybe even dance, but like everything is for drama and acting. I put like a little special effects and little video station. So you can work on your social networking skill as well as your acting and singing and all of that. I put down these books, these acting books, and a bunch of pictures that look like, you know, the posters from movies. And yeah, I just felt like it went really well together. Now we're moving on to the music room, and I had a lot of fun doing this. So we've got the colorful piano. I have like different violins set up here, and I just kind of like litter this bookcase with a bunch of books that teach you all these different instruments. So like I don't clutter it up too much because I pictured this teacher to be more of like a, you know, instead of reading about it, do it type of person. Like learn the basics from the books, but you got to do it to actually, you know, get better at it. I've had some teachers like that where it's like, okay, yeah, I can give you a book and tell you to read these chapters, but you got to do it. So I try to have that reflected in these chairs. I don't put any desks down in here except for the teacher's desk, but the rest of it is just like these little plushy chairs where the students can sit, listen, and then get up and play an instrument. I just felt like that was like more of a perfect vibe for this type of subject and this type of teacher that I'm picturing that teaches this. Now we're on to the other side of this building, and this is my favorite. I mean, besides the art, but this one's a really cool room. This is the gaming club where they can also work on like the research skill with these computers. So you don't have to go to just Brightchester to access this computer, because the computer is like 13,000 simoleons. So I put these research computers along the wall in the gaming room. So yeah, you can send your sim over here and you don't have to worry about spending 13,000 simoleons. And for the rest of this room, I just put like little computers down everywhere, a big TV, so when they meet up and they work on their video gaming skill, they got it. I was also thinking about like computer programming, that this would be like a perfect room to marry those skills of video gaming and programming. I use a ton of stuff from the Comfy Gamer Kit, and it just gave like this feeling that the teacher that does this is cool. Now we're moving on to like the robotics club, and also filled this room with a bunch of rocket science as well. So it's not just robotics. We've got rocket science as well, because we don't have a whole lot of decor pieces that I can really use for just robotics, but I'm like, wouldn't it be fun to marry rocket science and robotics together? Like, that would be cool. And you can work on like your handiness skill and all that fun stuff. But I use these items of these little robots that you can get from your Sims completing a kit that they bring home from school. And I was like, that would be perfect for this teacher to have, you know, some of their students' work, you know, put around the room. And I kind of just decorate this room out to be more sciencey. A bunch more science decor is going up. And yeah, it's just a fun little room before we move on to this one, which is the logic room / chess club. So we've got a couple of more areas to do chess, but we also have an area to build their logic skill where they can analyze any cuttings that they find from the greenhouse. They can use that machine to do it. I know it doesn't look fitting, but I really, really wanted to use that machine. And I'm working on this little area for the teacher. I picture this teacher to take a lot of pride in their job. They absolutely love the chess club. I even give them like a little plaque, and in the build by menu, it's like teacher of the year or something. I just thought it was so cute. But we are nearing the end of this video. Please like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, have a good one.